Interim CEO, members of the gallery. Welcome to Council meeting for Tuesday the 24th of September. I'd like to acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Also read you the Council pledge. We seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the peace and prosperity of our city. Please be seated. On leave we have nil, and apologies we have from Councillor and Mayor Larwood will be a little late. The next 30 minutes. Item 4 is declaration by members of a conflict of interest. Are there any to declare tonight? Might have been the case. Confirmation of minutes. If someone confirm the minutes from the 27th of August and they be read and confirmed as a true record. Councillor Harris, could you speak to it? No, thank you. Second. Councillor Barnett, one that. Could you speak to it? Any other debate? Please debate. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Mayor's monthly activity report is there for you. I'm happy to move it to pages 1 and 2. Harris.
I'll move it with 2 questions if I can.
All right.
In amongst the meetings, one with the CEO of Adelaide, it's on top of page 2, and regards the North Parklands, which I'm not going to put words in your mouth, is about that area we're going to do trees and things. So just very briefly, anything good came out of that?
Anything good. It was a bit of a candid update as best the CEO could about the bid by the Crows. He's bound by confidentiality on that process, so I learned nothing more from him that wasn't already in the advertiser. But I did take the opportunity to ask what on earth's happening with the $3.2 million that this council got out of the former government to upgrade the North Parklands. And he's basically admitted the whole process is being stymied by the Crows' bid. They're just uncomfortable about advancing it. So I've just said, look, I don't think the Crows are interested in Prospect Road or Main North Road entrances. Why can't you spend the money over there at Stage 1? Get on with it. But they're just nervous. So they don't want to waste money. Should the proposal from the Crows incorporate any part of the Prospect Road frontage? So unfortunately, they've got an excuse and we've got no action. But they've got our $3.2 million in their bank account, but rather than ours. That's, I'm sure I can't shed any more light on it for you.
Thank you, because I'm still concerned, but I don't agree that Crows should go there. My other quick question is, is 2 underneath that is the meeting with the Department of Planning Infrastructure with regards the electrical stuff down on Devonport Terrace. Just are they going backwards? Is there anything good for us that you can say?
Well, I think so. It was an interesting meeting, and the interim CEO and the director was there with me at that meeting. It was called in response to my letter to Minister Knoll for a meeting about that train construction of 307 trees. We protested, obviously, as per the council resolution. The Minister had failed to get back to us about setting a meeting date. I raised the matter with the Premier at the Skate Park Apprenticeship Program event casually, and so as a result of that, Minister Knoll has appointed the CEO of the entire Department of Planning, Transport and Infrastructure to meet with us. That's Tony Braxton-Smith, as per the report. Alongside him was Sally Smith, who's the head of the Planning SA, and Kirstine McKay, who is the head of the Office for Design and Architecture for South Australia, effectively the government architect, and a project officer. They've admitted that there's a lot of concern. They've driven down the corridor, had a look at it, realised where we were coming from, have effectively stopped all work on any destruction of landscaping along there. They've appointed a project officer to work between rail people, DIPTI's people, planning people, us and the Office for Design, the government architect, and to make sure that we come up with a much better answer. I'm told by the director that there's a very recent walk through the corridor, and we're yet to see the outcomes of that, but certainly much more positive discussion around retention of landscaping and opportunities for more landscaping as well. So a good outcome in the process, not exactly sure of the reduced number of tree losses yet. Understanding there will probably be some losses.
As the answer to that, I've moved the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Backer.
And just a brief question about the Vine Plaza plan design workshop with Languish and Clinic of JPE. Look, I know it hasn't come back to council yet, but obviously all of us are anxious to see some outcomes with that and wish we had seen them sooner. And I was just wondering if that went well and if there's something coming back to council shortly.
I think it went well. It probably wasn't really long enough to do what we needed to do. And I'm not sure where we're at, so you can see, can we have some update on
terms of the design?
Sure. Yes, so an outcomes from that design. Sure.
Yeah, we've got a meeting. That's good.
Director.
Through the chair, I agree. I think the design track went well. We engaged JPE to come up with some new concepts for the Vine Street Plaza. They're presenting those first concepts to me this Friday. Depending on the results of those, we're looking at presenting back to a JPE and a council workshop. So presenting back to a PEG, the next PEG meeting, plus booking in electing in a workshop, hopefully for late November. I'll hopefully have confirmed that this week, that date of that workshop.
Anything further? I might take liberty speaking from the chair to my own report, and in response to that, I would have been the view that could go straight to a council workshop rather than need to be filtered through PEG. It's of interest to all of us. So if that's faster, then please do that.
Thank you.
And other than that, I can report to you unless there's any other debate. Good questions, thank you. No other debate. Councillor Harris, do you need to sum up?
Thank you, Your Honour.
Worship, sorry. Nothing to worship here. There may be something honourable, but nothing to worship. And that concludes the debate. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, item 7 is council member reports and briefings. Are there any council member reports? Councillor Rickard.
Obviously, just want to note a couple of things. That was exciting to see that the Collinswood Foodland supermarkets, the new ones had its opening, and it was well populated. The Saturday morning I was there. However, for the hour and a half I was there, the car park was chockers, and there was a lot of traffic in the local areas. It's taken note of that. Obviously, the traffic coming up, it's great to see the supermarket open, and we'll be using it a lot. It was good to be down with the Mayor and the federal member for now City of Adelaide at the Broadview Bowling Club opening, and the bowling club did talk to us that obviously they're excited to see that the trees are down, but they want us to look at the Annie's room. So that came up at the bowling club opening day, Annie's room. So we can have a look at that. I believe that the staff
shed
rebuild for Annie's room, and the bowling club did make a note to me that they've been in touch with staff, but I didn't believe they'd heard back. I recall that right. Yeah, thank you. Also, Sefton Park Neighbourhood Watch attended their AGM. It's the only chance I could get because Sefton Park always meet on the Tuesday night, but they wanted to thank council for their support on a couple of projects. It was good to meet that group again because we don't really have the opportunity, and I passed on Councillor Harris's and the Mayor's comments to the group there, and that was quite well received.
Thank you. Any further? Thank you, Councillor Backer.
Look, just briefly, Councillor Barnett and myself attended the DIPTI briefing on the planning reforms. So Michael Lennon presented, and is actually a webinar available, so I'd encourage other elected members maybe to access the webinar or subscribe to the current newsletter updates. And then Councillor Barnett want to talk a bit more about the high tea from the Algor event on Sunday.
Yes.
Councillor Barnett.
Yes, on Sunday there was a well-attended high tea to celebrate centenary of Susan Grace Fenny, one of the first woman in local government in Australia. And we're delighted to have one of the ward councillors from Seacliff Council, which was the original board that Susan Grace Benny served in. Well attended and IT cards. And that was a very historic occasion of venues landlord. We had one of the MP that does the alter ego of one of our own suffragettes attended as well, and all suffragette behaviour. So that was very interesting as well.
Councillor
Along with most of the council members, attended the citizenship ceremony last Tuesday, so that was great to welcome the new citizens in the area. This Sunday, Councillor Pearce and I will be organising a waste management presentation together with East Waste. We've also invited the Lions Club to come and cook the barbie for us. Just want to thank staff for helping me with the promotional material, and hopefully the weather is great. Hopefully we'll get a few residents coming, because Councillor Pearce and I were thinking, how many snags are we going to buy? We don't know, but we've had phone calls, people ringing us to RSVP, so looking forward to a wonderful Sunday. Yeah.
So that's the Sunday coming?
Sunday coming at Stan Watson Reserve.
So we have heard, but everyone else will be able to go, I'm sure. Any further briefings? In this case, we'll get on to item 8, which is public question time. Note that the meeting procedures for public question time are out there, I think, in the gallery, and we have a maximum of 15 minutes total should we need it, and a maximum time of 3 minutes per person, unless I get your permission for an extension of time. Okay, so do we have any questions from the gallery? Mr. Stanley, come forward.
Hi, thank you for having me again. Mark Standen, 7 Mawson Street, Nailsworth. A little bit of a preamble, as always. About 18 months ago, Dipty closed Hillsdale Street in the North Ward at the intersection of Regency Road as part of the Bike Boulevard project. They installed a refuge at the intersection to make it easier for cyclists to cross Regency Road. The intent was to encourage cyclists to use the new Bike Boulevard along Braun Road. Although not documented, the road closure would have had some negative effect on the motorists using the intersection, and as with any road closure, it would have put extra pressure on the local roads around the area and disrupted the natural flow of traffic around that area, and probably disadvantaged a few people who lived around there. So, one would hope that this closure has been of a positive benefit to those it was designed for, namely cyclists. I travel Regency Road most days at a variety of times, and I've yet to see a single cyclist use the refuge, and I'm sure North Ward councillors might actually have better intel than me. I've not seen a single one in 2 years. So my question is in 3 parts, once again to the long-suffering Director of Infrastructure. Does Council have any data on usage of this Hillsdale Regency Road crossing by cyclists? Does Council have any data regarding the effect of the road closure and what it's had to the local area traffic flows? And does Council have any plans to reopen the Hillsdale Road closure if the crossing is not being used as intended, given that the new signalised crossing at Churchill Road has taken a lot of the pressure off the back street traffic in that area? Simple as that.
Thank you. I'm certain that need to be taken on notice, at least in part, but Director, do you have any initial response?
Through the chair, no. Thank you for the questions. Happy to take those on notice and we'll provide a response back.
Thank you. We've got it right, which I really appreciate. Thank you.
Happy to have that be taken on notice, thank you. And thank you again for your time.
Are there any further questions from the gallery? There being none, we'll finish our 15 minutes early. Thank you for the question and move on to item 9, petitions nil, deputations nil, motions on notice nil, questions with notice nil. That's to the interim CEO. I haven't seen that for a long time. Yeah, something, you're a good son. Questions without notice, are there any? Councillor Barney.
Yes. I'm just wondering, within our verge policy, things that we're allowed to do for the public side and not allowed to do, is there capacity for council to ban use that plastic grass?
Artificial grass.
Artificial grass.
That's a great question. You put that through to someone directly.
Through the chair, our current verge policy is silent on the approval or non-approval of allowing fake or artificial grass on verges. It's a very topical question at the moment. A number of councils are investigating whether it should be banned. We have the capacity to do that as a council, but it's not in any of our policies at the moment.
Just follow up. Would it not come under the purvey of councils' plastic and plastic policy?
Single-use plastics. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Through you, Mayor. I'm used to saying your worship, but I think that's sort of a broad category in terms of plastics and all plastics. I think the event type stuff and the things that are coming out of retail areas are should be banned in their own right, and this should probably be more under our environmental policy in terms of the planting of trees and the populating of the verges. So I think it should have to be done separately. Most other councils have done that as a separate thing, a specific thing in terms of the heat effect that comes off them and the destruction of the soil underneath. So they've wanted that built into their tree management policy or something along those lines.
Yes. So my last
Right.
so would it still require an elected member to move a motion on this, or is it able to be done under council's environment or heat, stopping the heat?
Through you, Mayor, preferable to do it as a motion, so that there's a direct intent from the council to do that. There is a bit of debate both ways that goes on, so it's, the ones that I've seen haven't been unanimous, but I think it'd be worthwhile testing it out as a motion, and perhaps we'll shadow that for the next council meeting.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor
Look, just in response to several resident complaints and just noticing what's happening on Prospect Road, I contacted the CEO just regarding the concern about the amount of advertising on Prospect Road, permanent and temporary, specifically banners on star droppers, flags, and also most concerning I found was advertising popping up on veranda posts. Now, I was aware that in our development plan it quite explicitly says that advertisement is supposed to be contained within the property boundary and not put on veranda posts. And I'm just wondering, A, who's responsible for approving this signage, and B, I'm concerned that our policy and the delivery of it isn't being aligned with our development plan and how we can address this.
You had a question.
So what's the current process and how can we address the signage not being...
You have a policy.
Well, we've got a policy, but it's the way that policy is administered.
Okay. Yeah, this question. Thank you. CEO, the Director of the Director.
Thank you through you. In relation to the signage, particularly the fixed signage on the Varro building.
Not any specific building, but just in...
There's possibly some others. There's an exemption under Schedule 3 of the Development Act for signage on the front of a shop. Our view of that specific sign was one of the queries was that exemption means that the development plan policy is essentially irrelevant to that. That being said, it sits on council land, which means it requires a section 221 permit, which is administered by the Director of Infrastructure team. And under that, there's an opportunity to approve or refuse. But as it stands, it's not development, that type of signage.
First ask from Chair, question of interpretation. You say that to the front of a shop. How many fronts can a shop have? Is that an infinity number according to you, or is it just one front to a shop? And I ask particularly in the context of a shop that has a veranda that's set back behind a car park that fronts onto a street. Because you could say the street's the front, or the veranda's the front, or the front of the shop is the front, which I think is the front. Could you find that question?
Happy to try through you. I don't believe there would be a definition. I believe it would be judged on a case-by-case or site-by-site specific. In the site that you're talking about, where there's a car park forward, I'd say that's not the front of the shop. I'd say anything that's part of the building, which may be considered the veranda, is also part of the shop.
So, make it simpler. Can there be two fronts to a shop? Like, can you count the facade and the veranda as both the front?
Through you, I'd have to get back to you for an exact. My gut feel would be that it's all the front, and that it's all part of that one building that faces the street. It doesn't. I wouldn't suggest that there's any differentiation between a veranda protruding and sign words on the glass and words on the posts. So, whilst I don't think it would have infinity frontage, there may be an opportunity on a corner where there's dual frontage, but there also may be, based on your interpretation, a dual frontage on the facade, and there's the hard building line, and then there's other parts of the building.
Sounds like it's contestable. Sorry to hijack your question, Councillor. Do you have a follow-up question?
I can. So just referring to outdoor advertisements in the development plan where it says 323, advertisement or advertising display should not be erected on a public footway or veranda post. How the policy relates to that.
So what were you quoting from
that? Was from our development plan.
Development plan. Director, can you address that specific question?
Specifically through you, the Development Act overrides the development plan, so it's not development. That policy can't be used for any purpose of any assessment.
That's why we have it.
Through you, there would be circumstances where it's not the signage on the shop, and it's the signage on the shop that under Schedule 3 of the Development Act is the exemption. So there would be many examples throughout the city where signage on the front of different forms of commercial establishment requires approval, and then you go to the development plan to see what policies inform that approval. But on the shop front, there's a catch-all that means that it doesn't become an issue for development plan assessment.
So can I ask the question straight away again? Can I ask the question, if the Development Act is not clear about whether a veranda post or a veranda or a structure in front of the front is the front, and we clarify front by saying these things aren't permitted to be called the front because it's a veranda post, surely our policy works in conjunction with the Act and clarifies what we say is okay and what we say is not okay. So surely they're in conjunction and not opposing.
Through you, we were to form the view that the veranda is not part of the frontage. It could then potentially be, depending on its size, development, and go through the planning process. To circumvent that, we've got signage on our land, which is covered by Section 221, which can be refused under that mechanism. So if the intent is to get rid of the signs, there's an opportunity through a process outside of the planning process to do so.
Okay. Councillor Baker, any further? No? Any further questions? Councillor Harris.
Yeah, my question is on a report, not necessarily a report, but on the letters that were sent out questioning about Edwin and Rutherford to the Collingwood area. I think it's just Collingwood there. Have we now put them together so that we can have a look at them and get an answer from those letters?
Thank you.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. We received about 150 responses, which has taken us quite a bit of time to analyse. They're not just yes/no answers, there's actually comments as well. So we've virtually finished that analysis now and preparing a report that will come up to the next council meeting.
What I've got, my others I'll ask where they show.
No further questions? Any other questions without notes? Councillor Rick.
Following on from Councillor Harris's question, are we on track if it's found to be in favour of the Collinswood, or the consultation is found to be in favour of the process, are we on track for a December delivery as we advise the residents?
Through the chair, if we proceed with what is proposed, we still believe we can make the December deadline, yes.
There's a temporary thing you're putting in, isn't it?
Yes. And relatively minor civil works. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barnett?
Yes, just wondering if we've found out, or the council officer in charge, any more about Prospect Council, the last one, the latest one, delivery, because some of us test cases, we still haven't received ours in our street. Others have not.
I haven't received it. I haven't received it at all.
CEO?
Through you, Matt. We had some discussion with Chris Hannaford in terms of this, and he was looking into it, but we haven't got a carryover of what he found out to the acting director at the moment. So there was some problems, and he was, the last I heard, he was going back to the distributor and saying that as you can do that, we won't be paying for that. So that was where it was left. I haven't got an update since that point. I'm sorry, but once it's back from legal, we'll get that, or we should be able to get it from the team as well.
Quick show of hands, totally out of order. Who has received it? Two. That's 100% increase. Yeah, it's just terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Would it be,
Sorry.
yeah,
Councillor, yes.
in that vein, besides not paying them, we look to get recompense for the cost of printing and the time.
Yeah, that's through you, wish. Thank you. Mayor. In terms of that, we are negotiating with them on many fronts as far as what we get in terms of compensation from that. So we would look at that. Obviously, we want to know where they belong. Absolutely. What have they done with this? And for the future edition, we won't be going through them clearly, and we'll go Australia Post with some of the more fringe surrounding suburbs. We'll do some hand deliveries there, maybe through service providers.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris.
Just quickly, I'm sorry, I thought of another thing, but tomorrow I got informed that we're supposed to have our things in for the next magazine. So yes or no, simple answers are worth doing one. Don't answer it.
You did a real question yourself.
My real question is, I'll still try to do that one, is briefly on the corner of Howard and Balfour, how we were going to do the thing you weren't at the last one. And there was about 4 or 5 things that were going to be done today. Could have been before today. Today I see the park, so John will come down. But I'm still concerned about the 2 corners, the white line stuff. Do we know when those other things can be done?
Through you, Mayor, the director.
Absolutely. Through the chair, I got an update from Pam Allen yesterday about that. The line marking, the reworking of the curb will take place around mid-October. Unfortunately, couldn't get done quicker. It's such a small job. We've had to wait in line essentially, but it is booked in to be done. Thank you.
Any further questions without notice? No, good. I'll move on then. So that might seem a bit quick. Yeah, 10. Item 14, minutes of committee, regional subsidiaries or other bodies. There are nil. Reports for decision, there are a few. First of those being draft dog and cat management plan 2019-2024. Recommendations on pages 3 and 4. Somebody happy to move them in their current form?
Sorry,
15.1.
Oh, right.
You can sit on there. There's no more deputations tonight.
I'm sitting next to.
Can I ask a question?
I'll move it because that discussion.
Thank you. You can speak to it, Councillor Boat.
You know the result I'm going to putting it on the table to discuss.
Thank you. Second. Councillor Nguyen wishes to speak to it.
I think.
Okay. Recognise Councillor Backer.
Probably just a question first, and I'll stand. So I was looking at some, I've had some correspondence with the CEO in regards to the term minor amendments. So part 2, it says, Council endorse the dog and cat management plan as presented in attachments 1915, subject to minor amendments. So I'm just unsure if what I had suggested is minor or major. So should I let discuss it first and then move an amendment, or?
You don't answer that question transparently because we don't know what
exactly.
to do.
So I'll.
I confer with the CEO. So if you're adding actions, I don't consider that minor. If you're changing the spelling or grammatical error or reordering chapter numbers, minor. But if you want to add actions, then we should at least note that and test it for that.
Okay, well, I'd like to move some amendments, and I think we had some wording up there.
So if I can read those out.
Yep, sure.
So this would be point 2, just to make it clear. Council endorses the dog and cat management plan, subject to minor amendments, including 1, investigate smart technology around cat management. 2, collaborate with neighbouring councils on dog and cat management issues. And 3, educate community on dog park locations.
I'm happy to speak to that. And
Yes, thank you.
so yeah, so I'll move it and
speak to it and I'll
okay. Yeah, so basically, it's a great initiative and it's something we've got to do anyway. But some of the little shortcomings, but nothing major. But one of the things I did note, there's a lot of responses in the survey for those that read the survey. And it's quite interesting. There's a lot of concerns around availability of dog parks and cat management. So. But the interesting thing, if you actually look in the report and what's come through to admin, there was only 3 cat complaints. So I think there's an issue, but people aren't wanting to ask anything about it because the only option is cat traps, and no one wants to catch their neighbour's cat. That's not a good look for the street. But one of the things I was thinking about, being that we are an intelligent community and our smart monitoring, is that maybe we could investigate in the future, subject to budgetary, either councils or partner, about sort of cat management using smart technology and sensors. They do that for possums and things like that. So basically it goes past a sensor and it takes a photograph. So you can actually monitor where the cats are going, and there might be suitable locations around the council to monitor that. And I think that would be a really good initiative. The other thing is to collaborate with neighbouring councils on dog and cat management issues. So I know our community, they love their pets. We've got lots of dogs and cats. People are looking for places to exercise their dogs, considering it's, houses are getting smaller. And one of the things that seemed quite absent from the report was a map of the actual locations. They were listed in tabular format, but I know we had a great report, which was our open space strategy, which actually showed the radius to certain parks, distances. And there was talk about Churchill Road. Now, there's actually a dog park a few hundred metres from Churchill Road. It just happens to be in Renown Park. So I think when we're talking about, dog and cat issues, we should think in precinct terms. We're very tight on open space, and it might be easier to work collaboratively with neighbouring councils, to actually alert our residents about where dog parks are, and in North Adelaide as well. So that is why I'd like you to support the motion.
Thank you. And just before you go that, it might be helpful to include a couple of words after including the following additional actions, not just like that.
clear.
And can I just test that, sorry, you want to educate about existing dog park locations. You weren't suggesting to talk about potential new dog park locations. That's okay, thank you. So having spoken of that, I'll just ask Movement and Seconder if you're happy to indulge that. Councillor Barnett. Yep. And Councillor Green, happy to incorporate. We'll then leave the meeting to incorporate. All those in favour of incorporating that, all those against, thus incorporated. Thank you. So no need for an amendment. Councillor Harris, did you wish to speak to the motion?
If we leave that little bit, because that's mainly the bit I was going to add, the whole rest I'm happy to go along with, but I was looking there and I just had two brief questions. One may sound strange, but it is actually a question. Cats now, similar to dogs, have a chip in them that they can be checked. Is it something that this smart business, instead of having the actual cat in its stead, that you can tell where it is, like a telephone, like Telstra has, you can find your phone? Is that sort of chip that's in the head that you can find the cat?
I don't think it's in their head.
Well, see, I usually, you know where the chip goes.
But surgically, we put it in.
Further than directly with this one, that's right.
Through the chair, no, my understanding is that chips are for identification only, not for location.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, well, I'm very strangely, I support the whole lot, the dog and the cat, but I can consider some cats similar to pigeons, and I do have an answer, but I won't suggest that on other people what we should do to cure that problem. So I think educating people on our dog parks and other dog parks that are in the area, I think that's a very good idea, how we can look at it, and maybe the cat management needs a heck of a lot more that can fit in with pigeons and foxes.
Thank you. Any further speakers to the motion?
It was a thorough report. I was going to almost say that it was almost too thorough, but we wouldn't want to accuse someone of leaving any stone unturned, or cat or dog in this case. And there's quite a lot of interesting information that came out of the report, statistics that were presented. So, you know, whether the team can gather some new insights from having another look, and I think along the lines of what Councillor De Backer mentioned in the amendment, sharing this report and sharing the stories that other people experience and how they deal with them, the smart technology idea is a good one to investigate. The only part that I would take one step further with the third part, so educating the community on existing dog park locations is good, and making sure that they're aware that outside our boundaries there are dog parks, but within our city there's not really a dog park. There's places that are kind of dog parks and slated to be a dog park in 2057 or somewhere around there in our long-term financial plan. But given the sentiment behind this and the amount of, it surprised me how many people had pets and dogs in the city of Prospect. So I know that we've got our open space strategy and we've allocated usage for each park, but I think given when we're approaching budgeting time again in the next year, at that point in time maybe we could consider revisiting some of the things that are slated for a long way off and consider starting that process to get the ball rolling, because there seems like there's a strong appetite for dog parks, and they don't just give you a place to exercise your dog, they're a real community centric situation. And given that we are right in the middle of urban infill, we are going to be looking for more and more opportunities to bring people out of their houses and do something with their community to start ensuring that we can create the community environment we're looking for. So I support the amendments and I support the motion and the report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I thought you were about to suggest an extra action to investigate potential dog park locations, but you didn't anyway. Right. Councillor Rick.
Yeah, look, happy with the amendment, happy to support it, and I do believe we need to look at that particular smart technology around cat management. I know, having spoken to a couple of people on the street, and they were talking about dogs and cats, and they were saying to me that the reason that they won't put a complaint in about, say cats, for example, is cats aren't required to be registered. So what's the point? Is the comment that there's a few of the comments that I've had back, and they've just said, if they've got a complaint about a dog, 99% of them you'd hope would be registered. They ring and make a complaint, and they've got a better strike rate. So I don't know if that's been something the administration looked at, because I strongly suggest that the numbers here don't sort of match up, and maybe that could be why people aren't putting a complaint in, is because cats aren't registered. So what would be the point? But apart from that, I'm happy to support the amendment.
Thank you. Just to clarify, there is no amendment, it's been incorporated.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Motion on.
Yeah.
Any further debate? If not, Councillor Barnett, you should sum up.
No, I think they're very good amendments that were proposed. So thank Councillor Ellison back to that. I know I have helped a person in my street with a cat issue, not cats wandering around, not being registered, not being looked after, and because I was concerned about spreading, say, disease like toxoplasmosis, some things like that. So I think we still need to keep on top of any further information about how we can manage our cats as well as we seem to manage our dogs. So it's probably a working still like in progress, I guess. Keeping our eyes and ears open about what's happening. And technology can certainly assist cat owners and on that. I think that would be all to the better. Because both, our pets survey, a sort of health, wellness sort of issue as well for our community. I think that's been recognised more with pet therapy and in those areas. So I commend the motion to everybody.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour?
Yes. Carried unanimously.
Next item is item 15.2, submission to the review of the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act 2016, recommendations on page 9. So I have to read it. So the backers, which you speak to?
I don't.
Seconder? Councillor Pearce, which you speak to it?
Just in regards to shopping trolleys, I wanted to mention in there, and we've already got on the table, I guess, that we're looking into that. I regard that as a pretty big issue, and like I said, we've already got that on the table.
Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Baggett, we should sum up. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On 15.3, discretionary rate rebate, Village Park Marketing Fund 2018-19. That should be 2019-20. For the recommendation, so the motion's right, but the heading's wrong looking for that. Sorry, I'll just pick it up. Recommendations on page 108, 109. Someone happy to move that way? If you need, we should speak to it.
Can I ask a question first?
Sorry.
If a business applies for a rebate in any given year, do they have to apply for the rebate every year, or once they've applied for a rebate, and if we did approve that rebate, is that a standing order that the rebate is automatically approved, or do they have to go that process every single year?
Question. In direction. But this one. Sorry.
Through Mayor, the last couple of years we have not asked them to resubmit, so once council has approved it, stayed in place, we assess them each year to make sure there's been no changes, but we've just kept the rebate in place. Council doesn't resolve that as part of the budget approval each year, so you are actually approving it every year, we don't make them reapply.
Okay. So this is the first time these people have applied for a rebate? Okay.
The standards the same.
Yep.
Oh, good. Sorry. And one has changed, 2 shops into one. Yeah. Within the old zone.
Yeah.
Got a seconder? No, I spoke to it, was you speaking to it?
Well, I believe that was a question actually, Mayor.
Like you said,
Actually answered, Director of Corporate
it's
Services.
my mistake for seeing you sit down. You still have the floor if you wish to.
Oh, trick you. I think this is reasonable, and I don't think we need to disincentivise people by not being fair about things. So I'm happy to support this motion.
Thank you. I'll second it. Councillor De Backer, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? None of being the case, do you wish to sum up your own excellent speech, Deputy Mayor?
No, thank you.
Please debate, all those in favour, against, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 15.4, the Code of Practice for Access to Meetings and Documents for consultation. Recommendations on page 126 and 127. Somebody happy to move it that's current form?
Question?
Mr. Backer, wish to speak to it?
Yeah, look, I did read through the Code of Practice and obviously it's an important thing to have, but the scope was limited to meetings for documents, including agendas and whatnot. It didn't include meeting videos. And I'm just wondering, with access to that kind of information, would that sit in a document like this, or would that be another document that would sit in?
Or,
We'll take that on notice again, right?
it's not a document, but it could be called a file, which could be called a document. That's a good question.
I think under the Records Act it is considered a document, so it'll be picked up on that, but let's check and get back to it.
Anything further, Councillor Backer as mover?
Was I moving? Was I? I thought I was asking a question.
I can take it as a question, but I did ask for a mover and you put your hand up.
Look, I'll move it, just get it on the floor, but I think in the consultation process, it would be really good to identify that videos are access to a meeting document and how we handle that.
Yes. You do have a second? Councillor Barnett, wish to speak to it?
Not only in speaking that in reading this, I actually found out what our local messenger newspaper actually was, because I have been confused for some time. And big hours sometimes inserted into our advertisements into our place. I haven't checked out whether our bulk hit, but it's in reference to us advertising in it. So is that officially that we are in the northeastern one? Because we do seem to get other ones, and we're never included hardly in anything except for some of our sport machines.
I'll answer candidly from the chair. It's a very good question, Councillor. I think the messenger is effectively dead in their area, and you may be getting an insert that is, well, northern, but we're more often the eastern, now northeastern, and that is the one that's in the Thomas Street Centre in bulk. And the pile that comes in is about 30 thick, and by the end of the week it's about 29 thick. So I think the penetration of readership is effectively disappeared. But we've got another answer. Can someone answer from a technical point of view in terms of a citywide newspaper? Do we know?
Through you, Matt, they are changing their distribution. I think they're going through all sorts of analyticals at the advertiser. And I've noticed this is on the southern area, and they've incorporated our messenger in there once that I've seen. So I don't know whether they're trialling it or not. You still, I think officially you still have your northern one that is supposed to be delivered, and they haven't come out and said anything publicly about the fact that that's disappearing. But there are these things going on, and I think their intent is to go completely online and not have that at some stage. But I think the advertiser executive have been a bit funny about doing that to people because of the backlash that is there.
So just returning, can I just expand the question, because where are we advertising then if we don't know if the messenger exists or not exists? How do we comply with the legislation? Essentially, that's your question.
Yes, my question, as I was going to follow up on, would it make more sense not to actually put the name of the Part A, which is advertised with the local newspaper, because we really don't really know if we advertise it, but then I'm not sure of the costs them, probably more.
So yeah, I think that's worthwhile. I think that the messenger may is clear. If he wants some longevity to this policy, just local newspapers, so maybe the advertiser that we do it through, or any other advertising mechanism which grows up through that. So it's probably a bit of a wait and see at the stage with immediate change.
So this is specific to the recommendation which says about this consultation process. Are we going to advertise that in the local messenger? That's the specific question, isn't it? The longer term one is of interest, but what do we do with this one? Should we just take the word messenger out to give staff flexibility to work out what is the best newspaper? Does that make sense? That would be perfect. Okay. So, Councillor Barnett, I'll take that as a suggestion, and strangely as a secondary, you can't move an amendment, but I will just leave it in the meeting to incorporate that change, to delete the word messenger.
Okay, potentially move it, if the member will be happy to incorporate that if that helps.
We'll seek the nod of the mover. The mover's happy to incorporate the change. Second certainly is. I now see leave the meeting. Always happy to incorporate that change. Please indicate so. Against, stuff's incorporated. Thank you. Could pick up and difficult at the moment. I think. Yeah. Any further debate? Councillor Rick.
First of all, I'll start with the question. Picking up on Councillor De Backer's question or statement before about the video, I thought it was a really good point. If we're endorsing this tonight and we're endorsing the consultation process, are we locking ourselves in, or would it be an amendment be helpful to actually incorporate the video as part of the document? Because I would look at that and to view the video as part of the document. So the way I'm thinking, either this needs to go away and that needs to be incorporated, it needs to come back, or I'd be happy to make an amendment to include that, but I'd like some clarification first.
Yeah, through you there. Look, it's a matter of expediency. I think we can move this if you want to get this in place, and then we come back with an amendment based on that video, handing a video, and then actually come back with a paper which actually just amends that. So I think that substantively the rest of the report is still valid, but it is that video question that could be accommodated within this more explicitly than actually.
So you're suggesting during the consultation phase, we'll look at that and that'll be part of the feedback provided, and that will be brought back in the final report. Okay, thank you. Councillor Rick. All right.
And I'll take the advice.
Any further debate? If there isn't any, Councillor De Backer, do you wish to sum up?
No, thank you.
Okay, all those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously, thank you. 15.5, the petition policy review, recommendations on page 143. So we're happy to move that as it's presented to us. Deputy Mayor, wish to speak to it?
Not at this point in time, thanks.
Seconder?
I've got a
Race to put your hands down. I'll look at it there. Councillor Barnett.
Yes, I'm happy to second it, and I think it's a good move about incorporating the electronic application and some of the other improvements. Yes, and I'll be pleased to see this gets through and get our next petition. So at least be able to be informed in the papers that come to us. So happy.
Thank you. Any further debate?
It's just a question. So the template that's shown on page 157, 158, if you wrote your own in a landscape format, would that be acceptable as long as everything is in the same position, or does it have to be that exact template?
I think we've always been pretty flexible with it. CEOs, that's still the intention.
Suggested. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I think from recollection, this council's not refused a petition provided it's legible, the intent is there, and the statement's clear. We could have, but I don't think we ever have rejected it. Just from the chair, just briefly on this topic, pleased to see this come back. We have asked for this to be tidied up, and pleased to see the suggestion that every head petitioner will be given the opportunity to have a deputation, so it's nice and clean in terms of how it fits in our agenda. We did have a good discussion with staff, sorry I did, but just prior to the meeting about this issue about whether the petition actually gets published in the agenda papers, and this concern around privacy. And as you can read in the report, 17 other councils were consulted around their policy around this, and there doesn't seem to be a consensus around this topic in particular. So I've suggested that the CEO send our recent work, including the 17 councils' responses to the LGA, saying this is an opportunity to try and pull together at least a common policy as a model policy, and to sort out the legals, in particular, around privacy. There's a bit of a funny issue, and I'm not quite sure where I land on this, but if you sign a petition that's on a cafe counter, or someone comes to your door and you sign your name, I would have thought you'd expect that then becomes public information. But there is a nervousness around us being the publisher of that information in the public domain. And so there's this issue of it being public, but not that public. And I think that's the whole tension around social media that everyone's going through at the moment. I'm not sure there's clear legal advice around it, nor is there clarity around if you said, well, we're not going to publish it, and that will encourage people who are worried about their address and name being published, that will encourage them to actually sign it because they feel like they're going to be protected. Unless we state that on the petition, they're not going to know that. So how do you get the best of both worlds in terms of some degree of protection and privacy and some promotion of that protection and privacy? I think it's a really murky area, and I think the LGA it would be great for them to try and help us resolve this on behalf of all councils and get some good advice on it. And so I expect that if that advice comes back, we may be having a look at some tweaks to this within the next 12 months. We'll see. But now, though, this is a significant improvement on what we've had, and hopefully clarifies matters going forward for our benefit and the benefit of the head petitioners. Any further debate? Councillor Harris.
Just very briefly, because you raised that point, on page 158, where it was stated that we sort of roughly run on it, but on the top it says there should be an exact copy of what's there. So I just thought I'd point that out, that it was in writing that it says exact copy. I still prefer your answer.
So is he asking a question?
Well, the question is, I suppose that it's in here on page 158 that has to be exact. And I prefer the answer you give, that it's that general sort of closeness.
It's exact in terms of wording, so the content has to be all there, but if you have a landscape versus portrait, that's not going to be any concern at all. And I take on board what the Mayor is saying. I think the Act talks about the intent of what they're trying to get through. And if that's clear, then you must take it as a position.
Okay. Well, I'm going to support it, and I'll just raise one other where the last bit that the Mayor had been talking about with that privacy and things like that. Very early days here, we had a big campaign about stop burning, rubbish bins in the back and that sort of stuff, and there was petitions that come in supporting and not. And we had a yabby human being, no, I wouldn't call it a human being, people that actually used the petition to come around to people's houses that were opposed. I had no problem with it. He went to the wrong house, but it was a bit of a concern to some other people that he actually used the petition to go to places, that were opposed to it. But in the main, somewhere you've got to put your name if you agree with something. Yes, I support that.
Yeah. Thank you. Any further debate? Councillor Riff?
Just wanted to clarify from the administration, my reading of this, that it's my understanding that the petition comes into council, that the administration only acknowledged the feedback received by the head petitioner. Is that correct?
Yeah. Through you, Mayor. Correct.
Right, I've only started getting used to it. That's right.
We do send the full petition to elected members.
Okay. Are there any other, as part of obviously looking at how other councils operate, are there any other councils in the state that would send an acknowledgement of feedback received to other people in the petition, that have signed petitions or provided feedback other than the head petitioner or not?
To every signatory.
Well, as best as anyone they can get in contact with to note feedback. I know that's standard approach at the state level, but I don't know about local level.
To every petitioner.
No, to anyone that signed a petition to note feedback.
See ya.
Through you, Mayor, there's one council that we know of who does that, but mainly across the land it's discouraged because of the practicalities of doing that and taking on their issue and it seeming like an endorsed council position, etc.
Wow. Good on the state for doing that. Whose money are they using to do that?
I don't reply to me very often.
Yes. That would be. Sorry, just speaking of the chair, I should close.
Sorry. Sure.
Well, I'm probably not in favour of that unless I can be convinced otherwise. I know you're not moving an amendment to do so.
No.
Because we'd have the written address, that would mean we'd have to pay for an envelope and a stamp and a piece of paper and someone have to put it in the envelope to get back to them. And I just think, wow, that if you had a petition that's got a lot of people's names on it, that's why I'm interested the state does it, because it would take petitions at 1,000. Yeah.
No, not like MPs obviously note feedback received and all that, but I wasn't sure whether other councils do it.
Individual ones, certainly I think absolutely do that. It is for a long petition.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Any further debate? Conclude this debate. So, sorry, Councillor Deputy Mayor Lowers, would you like to sum up?
I think everything that could be said has been said. Sparking my approval of this motion. Well done, well dusted.
All those in favour? Against, carried unanimously. Someone go and tell that dog that we've dealt with that item. Eventually. Alrighty. Item 16, reports for information. Anybody wish to, under the protocol, pull out any of these items? Item 16.1, items in brief. Councillor Barnett.
It was mainly just...
So we'll get to that later. Item 16.2, Wilcox Development Update.
Sorry. So we're pulling out 16.1?
Yes.
Yeah. And 16.2, did you want 16.3, the Planning Reform Update, Planning and Design Code. Anybody wish to pull that out? No. Item 16.4, discretionary rate rebate pension and impact of EPA solid waste levy. Anybody wish to pull that out? Councillor Barnett. Item 16.5, Community Hub Library Innovation Centre Project Update. Anybody wish to pull that out?
Please.
Okay, can we have someone move on block then? Just one thing, item 16.3. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Backer. There being no debate on something moved on block. That's only one. All those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 16.1, Councillor Barnett, do you wish to move it?
Where am I? Yes, I just wanted to draw particular attention to 4.6 compaction bins at George Woodall Reserve. I think that's a fantastic idea. I hope that it can be a really good sort of trial run. We might be able to expand it because heavens know we do need to improve the recycling for collection. So that might go one quite visible way to do it. The other one was still under item 16.1, recycling audit and proposed 3-step contamination education program. And that the overall findings of the audit were disappointing.
Surprising.
The contamination across all our member councils, just over 4%. And in particular, about misuse of yellow bin. And, they talk about their first contamination, second contamination, third contamination. It sounds so horrible talking in this term, but anyway. I'm just wondering, so when are we going to actually be doing this? And what's the next step to decrease contamination?
Sorry, no, second question understood. The first question, we're going to be doing what, sorry, councillor?
We're doing all this first, contamination, introducing that business.
Okay, yes.
3 hours.
Oh, you mean, sorry, the three.
Yes,
Three steps.
Three steps, okay.
3 steps and you're fine.
Thank you. Director.
Through the chair, the three-strike policy is still something we're working on at the moment, so it's not something that's in concrete yet, so it's something that's still being proposed. Once that information comes to hand, we'll provide that to local members ASAP. In terms of what we're doing, yes, it is quite a damning report. We're going to be having some discussions shortly with East Waste about what we see a prospect and as a group of 7 councils can do to fix this issue, because it's not going away when you have it fixed. And talking with the Mayor earlier, there may be a motion coming up on board about us preparing a report in the future back to council on what we're proposing to do. Maybe.
We could just do it anyway.
Yes.
Councillor Barnett, anything further?
No, I think that's all right. Or so we're going to, it's going to obviously be further actions and we'll wait for the next report.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harris, wish to speak to it?
Yes, and I want to raise one of the areas, 1.7, and in raising, I'd ask a question that's completed the 1819 tree growth thing, and problem come, we sent a letter to Jellicoe Street, I think, number 6, and I could be wrong, but let's think with Jellicoe Street, there was 3 trees that were going to be planted there at the back of Hepburn Street, and that was going to be done in this growing period, planting period, and I would personally say one probably can't be done because the driveway hasn't been done there, but at least 2 of them, even though we said to the lady 3, people that wrote in, at least 2 of them are supposed to be in this planting period, not the next one. So rather than create a problem, we have a look why they're not there and put them there.
Yes. Director.
Through the chair, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'll follow up straight away and we'll get in contact with the resident and I'll let the members know too what the outcome is.
Because we actually sent a letter that they were going to plant the tree in this season. But in the meantime, moving the second whole lot, I do that particularly taking in my mind the recycling and all those 3 hits and all that sort of stuff that I find I take an interest in it, and I still find it fairly hard to work out some of the plastics. I can work out cardboard easy and paper easy, tins, bottles, but what's plastic and what's not plastic and what's sort of plastic and what's big plastic. I find in the bin and pull out things and then put in extra things. So I'm mostly guilty like some other people put it, not concrete, other things in the recycle bin. So I'm interested to see our learning process, teaching other people as well as myself. And if we can fix up those trees, great for 1.5 and during the Christmas break, I'll second.
Thank you. Any further debate? Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so the items in brief. Is that all of those things, or is that one of them?
That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thanks for the report, CEO. It's great to get a quick summary on all those items and brought a lot of interesting points to the surface. A question, if I may.
Certainly do.
The compactable bins at George Woodall Reserve sounds like a great idea. What plans have we got to capture the data around how infrequently we're needing to clear those bins compared to if we had normal bins? Because we need to build a business case behind extending this program out to other areas of our city, and an obvious one is Memorial Gardens, which we used to regularly get complaints about overflowing bins by about 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday during summer. So do we have plans to capture the data to demonstrate that this is a good investment? That's my question. I made it sound like I had something else to say, but that's it. Sorry about that.
You must have been there. Through.
Through the chair, yes, we will be receiving reports as part of the process. We get regular reports about how full they are and how often we knew how often we were emptying them prior. The new bins, that might not be the case, but we will know how often we are emptying them now, and we'll be able to estimate how much we were before. So yeah, that's very important information that we'll receive, and obviously that'll add to a business case for rolling these out potentially throughout the entire city.
What's the cost of these bins, and what's the anticipated, time frame for achieving a return on investment?
They're $7,000 each. The style of the report is shown on page 162. So Pam said that they will definitely be collecting that data, using it as a trial to extend this, hopefully.
So just to clarify, $7,000 each, so the picture shows it there.
Yeah, so they're 14,500 each. Yeah, for 15 grand for a pair.
Sleep at the moment, that's not the way.
Thanks for the I'm sorry I asked.
Just further debate. Just from the chair, just on bids, I'm told by people who have had them installed and monitor the data that they're seeing a 90% reduction in pickup servicing. So they're quite excited about it. I'm not sure what a pickup costs. The question's a really good one. So even though it might be 90%, if it's only $5 to pick it up, it takes a long time to pay off $7,500. So we'll have that information at some point, I guess. I've got a couple of questions. The recycling audit, I agree with Councillor this is a pretty damning report, and Prospect doesn't look good, and it seems as if we've got a couple of people that put a lot of garden waste in. It's really mucked up the stats, but even if you took that out, our stats don't look remarkable. So in terms of the league table of recycling, I'd much rather be towards the top of it, because I don't think that's where we are. With the North Adelaide of the 2019 sample season, not the Glenelg. So I was interested in what is next. Is there an intention that there be a response to this audit in terms of a report to us, or does that report need a motion to initiate it? And I'm kind of hoping that the answer is no. This is so alarming. We need to get on top of this and work out what to do. A combination of education and maybe looking at enforcement, but there's a whole pile of questions around how you would successfully do that. But is there going to be an action plan arise from this information?
Correct. Through the chair, yes, this report is alarming. So that's your words. It doesn't need a motion. We'll present a report back to council. We're already working on a report at the moment about our caddies and our starch, because unfortunately the city of Prospect's recycling rates in terms of green waste aren't much better than other councils. So why are we investing? We're looking at why we're investing so much money annually into this program if we're not getting a lot better results. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that we would cut the program. Can we improve the program? But we can incorporate this contamination education program into that report.
Yeah, thank you. Can I commend the staff and East Waste for actually giving us this data? I know there's a number of members, including myself, have been asking for a long time, how are we going, and have had no data for probably 3 or 4 years. I think that's unacceptable, so it's good to see it. I'd like that, whatever comes back to us as an action plan, to talk about how frequently we'll be sampling. So I think we're not measuring it. How on earth do we know how we're going? And we've been proven, right, even been caught out, you're not measuring it, hello, it's hopeless. And I think it goes straight to what's the education program we're running, how much money we spend on education, how much we'd save if the contamination rate was less, how much we should invest in these things. All that is so hard for us to get right as elected members if we don't have good evidence. So I'm happy that the evidence is here before us, just disappointed it's taken so long. And the other topic I want to talk about was the tree planting program report. It's terrific to see numbers like this summarised so that we can say to our constituents, you know, in the tree planting season just finished, we planted 508 trees throughout the city, soon to be 510 or 11. Thank you, Councillor, for raising that reminder of that promise that's been made by staff. And I think that's terrific to say, you know, that number of trees have been planted. Couple of questions. We cut down some pine trees in memorial gardens by the war memorials, and there was a promise or undertaking to plant 4 in memorial gardens in response to that. There's only been 1 planted, which is here in the report. It says 1, which is right. I'm wondering where are the other 3?
Through the chair, can I take that on notice and I'll follow it up a bit?
Sure, if you can. And I note that there's been some planted along Minty's Crescent that somebody might say, well, they're over there. And I'd say that's not the park. Because there is a shortage of new trees in the park. There's a lot of old trees that at some point are all going to fall over at the same time, and we'll be left with a whole pile of areas that aren't very shady. So if you could let us know about those 3. And the other question I had on this was, you look at the 2019-2020 planting schedule, it's got a number of 342 there, noting that the figure might not be that precise. But I couldn't understand why that was so much less than the 508 for the year just gone. And noting, I think that the budget for trees in this coming year, well, I thought it was more, but I could be wrong. There's no white cedar program mentioned there, for instance. So can you just give us an explanation of why it's such a difference?
Through the chair, thank you for bringing that up. I did notice that this morning that question may come up. I should have explained it in the memo. The white cedar program is not included there at the moment because at the moment that program is on hold. I hope to get a report back to council next month on the status or the future of that program. For example, if we had $30,000 allocated to the white cedar program for this year, the recommendation may very well be that that $30,000 is carried forward to just the general street tree planting fund, yes. And that will obviously increase that figure significantly. But until we have a resolution of council or direction from council, that won't be reflected in those figures.
Okay, thank you. Can I say that would have been helpful because on page 162, it actually says that there is, that was, let me get to it, the little table 162 down the bottom. This is where I got really confused because the annual budgets are summarised here, and I haven't gone back and verified the numbers, but well, I'm not assuming anything anymore, but I just want you to comment. The street tree planting program, 90 grand last year, 90 grand this year. I would have thought the same number of trees. There's a bit of CPI on tree costs, but very, very similar. In the report tabling, it's a much lower number for this year. In the white cedar removal program, it's exactly the same dollars, but it's not, the trees numbers aren't shown, and I think the latter table would be more helpful if it actually had the tree numbers subject to white cedar programming. And the green tunnel program is more money, so 30,000 up to 54,000. So reading that, you know, for the average Joe, or Joe could be male or female, as we know, the average Joe would have thought there'd be more trees planted in 2019 than 2018-19. And so I got really confused there. So could I perhaps ask that you go and rustle through that, sort it out, and perhaps give us if that's okay. And the white cedar thing, that's subject to decision, but we know the money is there. Yeah, great. Thank you.
That was definitely not be a definitive list, but I see how it's caused some confusion, so I apologise about that.
Yes, yeah. Just to close it out, if you look at 2018-19, street tree planting program 346, same money this year, 90 grand, give or take some CPI stuff, 217. Big difference. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I would have thought we'd be planning instead of 508, I don't know, 600, something like that. Yeah. And again, it's about telling the story to the community that we're planting large numbers of trees, and this year more trees. That's what I really want to do. So we'll leave that. I won't ask you that question because you'll have to go and look it up. But if you could let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate on item 16.1 items in brief? If not, Councillor Bunnett, just your sum up.
I think there've been some quite useful discussion coming out of that, and once again, let's thank CEO for bringing comprehensive things to us. So always useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour?
Yes, it's carried unanimously.
The next item withdrawn was item 16.3, the planning reform update, the planning and design process. No, sorry, for Councillor Harris, do you wish to move it?
Yes, I'll move it. I got about 3 questions and then a bit about it. The 2 first questions can be the same. In amongst the questions that were asked, I asked, and if you look at seconded summary 2, 4, 6, 7, dot 7 down on 223 about the trees and vegetation. There's a little bit in there, but I still had that concern of I think last year planted some jacarandas along Prospect Road and in the front, and I see today or yesterday that part of them are already cut back. Might have paid to actually take them out and put them back later because I can see them being damaged. So my question around the vegetation is still not quite answered because it's all squashed. What are we going to replace and what's it going to end like? The other more concerning one, today they're pouring concrete and I believe there wasn't a problem, but one of the questions I asked was the flooding and contamination control in our drains, and today anyway while they're pouring concrete, the pumps are on the road, they do the blowout on the road and all this sort of stuff, and there was no sort of sandbags if they happen to have an accident and the stuff hits to the drain unless they got them punished in the lunch shed or something. So that one, and nowhere in here I found it as answered, so that was still one of my concerns. But in the big picture, I'm pretty happy with this report and where the staff has gone. I go to page 226 and I go to the second dot point, and even though it's just writing, it wasn't wooden beams protruding, they are actually that, but it was formwork, so perhaps if we're talking about building a bare built, we can use the words formwork, because someone might be, the council's kind of crook for just cutting a wooden beam, but complaining because the actual formwork was over the footpath. So that's only terminology, if it doesn't get changed, it doesn't matter. Down the bottom, the second dot point on the same page 226, on September the 6th, 19, the development stored the hoarding which we confirm will remain in place for the life of the construction. I don't know why I marked that. I would say I marked that because that's really good, because I can't remember.
Thank you, Councillor.
And on the next page, 227, now this is more a bit of someone can explain to me a bit, because this part falls into how we're looking at changing our other plans for policies. And in the second dot point, council administrations now receive a rolling city work costs. So if they put in an application for road and footpath closures for the whole project in advance.
Is that question? CEO, Director, second bullet.
Through the chair, yes, they have. They've indicated various milestones throughout the project, whether they want to close the road.
Sorry, Councillor, you're not talking about the road, you're talking about the footpath on the...
Well, road and footpath, but the footpath is actually gone now around the corner unless they want to close the other side. If they put the crane, they should want it. It's just very good house builders if they can plan that far ahead to know where they're going to close. So all I've got is explain. Now, what's happened here, all this flows into our all interactions, our new sort of plan, that I'm a bit concerned when we do talk about the hoardings and we talk about the requirement, pedestrian access, arterial, that I'm a bit worried that we're allowing, it has to two-storey buildings onto the main roads, and it's got in there the emphasis with pedestrian crossings where people can walk, wheelchair access and things like that. I would have liked to see that a bit broader, particularly where there's other things which immediately comes to my head is sort of things like bus stops or right in front of the doorway of a shopping centre or elderly homes. You know, it's just not taken up enough. I'd be happy with it like it is, but I think if someone could have a look just to see that bit more broader where it includes it, and it leaves a bit of an avenue out or a bit of pressure on the staff. And I don't want to see that pressure on the staff that, yes, we're going to build this building, you have to have this hoarding, the B-type hoarding. Go the A, but particularly the B-type hoarding. Or as long as it is, and I find a bit of pressure if someone can come and say, oh look, we're only going to do it on Saturday, or we're only going to do it on Sunday. If you'll see the part where I've got it marked, where I haven't got it marked, and it's down on page 228, that hopefully they can just have a look at that to tighten that in. And my last thing before I actually still, oh shit, oops, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, so the bit I was just talking about there is on page 233, second paragraph 2. Once a requirement that walkway is determined, council may approve the permit. Well, if it fits into that two-storey, the bus stops, etc., that is a requirement. You know, it doesn't, and I'm more concerned about the pressure being put onto the working people of our council to do it. So just those things, and underneath I've got about the bus stops, schools, that sort of stuff fits in there. The only other thing I'll tell you that I've learned many times on page 229, I wouldn't tell a builder or developer what days I'm going to come down the street. I think that is absolutely excellent for internal, but I wouldn't put it in the document to say we're going down your street on Monday, but we're not coming on Tuesday or Wednesday unless it's Churchill Road, Prospect Road. But look, in the main, to finish off, I'd like to thank the staff for a lot of the work that's gone in, and I know it's one of those things that I get a bit emotional about people's lives, but I think a great step's happened in this, and particularly we improve the other bit that the assessment got in, and it would make our buildings being built in our city a heck of a lot safer for the people actually working on it, but also for the people on the outside. So I ask people to support.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Richard, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? Just from the chair, just to reiterate, grateful that staff are getting much more on top of this. They've gone to other councils and had a look at their policy settings, gone to the City of Adelaide, which is the obvious place because they deal with height and path and road interruptions. So it's a logical place to go. So finally, we're getting pretty close. We won't know if this is perfect until it gets tested again. So just encourage the staff to keep implementing this. You've got the backup of the elected members. So I'll let you know, CEO, that we'll back into the hill to get this stuff working. And if we start getting complaints from developers about how hard their life is, we might come out and chat to you, but we're a long, long way from that at this point. So look forward to implementation phases of this, and we've got a few things to do that on. And I look forward to perhaps revisiting in 12 months' time with any learnings that pop up. So thank you. Any further debate? If not, Councillor Harris, wish to sum up.
Yes, and because I thank everyone for not saying anything, because it means we're fairly happy where we're going. The only, and it's not including, but when we talk things, we look at a place like keep in mind as we're doing these sort of things, on that side's a lot of trees and growth. So if we put people to put hoardings, any type of hoarding, to start directing people into the traffic, particularly if those things stay there overnight, it's not like a Prospect Road or a Maynooth Road. It's an area that you're forcing people over in amongst bushes. some of us get frightened or attacked or whatever. So I'm more than happy, if anyone needs my assistance, I'm more than happy to work with any staff to make this work properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. All those in favour? Yes, carried unanimously. Great. 16.3 we've dealt with. 16.4, discretionary rate rebate pension back to the EPA solid waste levy. Recommendation page 246. And it was drawn by, sorry, Councillor Barnett, you should move it.
Well, I suppose I can.
You don't have to, just a courtesy to ask because you withdrew it.
Yeah. I was concerned about the point being made that council does not have current information on the number of pensioners or concession holders in its district. And it goes on to say that the latest one has 2014. And again, I'm just wondering how we can work smarter, because I mean this is again another thing that like government puts onto us in the local, and this annoys me. So my question goes to how does council update its information of pensioner data on file? And I'll just ask my next question because put it into the whole pot. How can this process be made simpler? I see it from the state government, and the state government should be releasing this in a timely manner to us local councils. I want to see how can we make the state government, it's their jolly policy and the reason why things have changed for us. So why should we have to bear any extra cost for our staff to be made to do extra work? That's my way of being.
Thank you. I'll defer to see in a second. My understanding is that when we offered the pensioner concession on our rates, we got given the pensioner data at the time of rating. Since the pensioner concession has been withdrawn from local government and picked up by the state government, they no longer send us that data. We don't have it at all. Now, CEO, am I correct?
That's correct. Absolutely correct. Yes, they withdrew it. We don't get it anymore, so we don't update it. We don't have any way of knowing. So this report went on the fact that we'd have to actually ask them if they're a pensioner, verify that, take a copy of it. It's a very laborious process for people. So it has knocked us out of being able to maintain that in any way, shape or form.
How do we fix this and go back somewhere in the state government or through the LGA and say, well, this is not good enough?
CEO?
Through you there. I think at the time when it was withdrawn in 2014, there was quite a cry to the government at that point, but there was no sympathy in terms of giving us a separate feed in terms of pensioner information. It's difficult from a privacy point of view too as to why we've got that data and what we're going to do with it. It was clear when it was for a rebate before, so I don't believe that there is. Maybe Mr. Birch, the director, would have some other sort of information on it. Thank you, Greg.
Through you, Mayor, they don't maintain it on a council basis anymore. So while the state maintain it, they aren't able to distribute it to us because they don't want to manage it on a per council basis. And so those councils that have run effluent schemes do still receive it because they have a separate method they require it for. But for any council such as us that does not maintain effluent schemes, we don't have access to that data anymore.
Well, it's good to hear we're not too excellent.
That's the only good thing about it.
Councillor Barnett, anything further?
I know that was my main point.
Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, you should speak to it. Further debate, Councillor Harrison.
Yeah, I'll tell people I'm going to vote against it, and I thank the staff for the work they've done. But when we had the discussion, when we were putting the rates in, and when we were doing the work out, and the government came along and changed a few things and we worked, I didn't remember the exact price, but it looks like it's $10. Yep. So the $10 figure, and for the life of me, I can't see why the next Prospect magazine we can't put in there, pensioners show up at, not trades all, show up at our chambers, bring your rates notice, bring your pension card and we'll give you $10 back. You know, it's in here, and I know the system, unfortunately, how it works, they can go through hardship things and all this. You're not going to get someone from the other side of the city walk right down here and start filling out forms and saying you can sell my house when I'm dead to pay everything. I just find it almost impossible, to the degree that I couldn't support it, of saying, here's my rates notice, here's my pension card, thanks for my $10. I can't say much more because I get too emotional.
Could you just turn it into a question for me to ask whether that is able to be done?
Well, I can't see why. Does anyone else see why we can't do that?
Good question. From CEO.
Well, it's all feasible. I suppose it's how much you want to spend on administration of that process. Yeah, it's the start time in terms of the
I'll write it for you.
No, so I'm not talking about the article.
Sorry.
I'm talking about the administration after that in terms of the accounting of that. I think it's not a good look if we just start doling out $10 bills to people. So we'd have to actually transfer that to that person probably electronically. You take the information, you'd have to then have records in terms of keeping the fact that they have a rates notice and a pension card or that sort of advice. It's more that side, I think, which our staff sort of said there's concerns about.
Do you want to, if I can just through in there. Section 166 actually doesn't give you provisions to provide the rebate. That's the advice we've had from the lawyers. So the clause we were looking at under Section M was around the unfair or unreasonableness of the rating. And because we can't prove that pensioners have received an unfair experience with their rating compared with non-pensioners, we're unable to separate it. So it's not, there isn't obviously administrative burden, but unfortunately 166 does not provide the opportunity for you actually provide this rebate, which is what the actual sentiment of the report actually is.
Because of the fact that it's $10 basically, it would be hard pressed to prove hardship for that.
It's the equality of other rate pays basically. So pensioners have not been disadvantaged. I understand fixed incomes and you know, the notification from the state government is actually the unfair point. But when you actually look at the equality of rating of pensioners versus non-pensioners, the unfair and unreasonableness to each other doesn't exist.
That's great. I wouldn't mind giving $50 to 5 people that don't deserve it, as long as one person needs it, deserves it, and they get it. I can't change what you're talking. I'm pretty crafty. I can find a few ways I think around it. With Christmas time, we can give someone $10 if we want, but I just can't vote for it like it is, and I know I can't change rules, so I just don't accept it.
Councillor Lloyd.
I remember a meeting that we went to soon after the state government announced it, and we did agree that we were going to compensate or give an exemption to the elderly or the older adults in our community, because we spoke about, you know, being disadvantaged, being on a fixed income. You know, for me, you know, you earn a salary, so it's completely different to find another $10, but for somebody who's on a fixed income, that's really hard. You know, I understand you're pulling out a section, you know, that's the rule, but I think as a council, could we do anything to help our elderly people who are on a fixed income? And I just feel that we need to do something to support them, given that their income is very limited. My question is there anything else we can do to support them, to exempt them? Can we find other ways?
So yeah, through Mayor, not under this Act, as the Director has said, it would be illegal to do that, and you have to show the hardship as compared to someone else, another ratepayer. So the proof of that legally, as far as what was tested out, is just not there. So you could think of other ways to get money to your community, but this is not the way to do that in a legal fashion.
Anything further, Councillor?
There's opportunity to be creative here and look after our elderly clients.
Councillor De Back.
Look, I understand the emotion around this, and look, there's lots of pensioners within our communities. There's lots of people that aren't pensioners but are renting within the community, and I think there's struggles across the whole spectrum. However, this motion is actually to note the report. So I'm supportive of noting the report and the work that administration's done in clarifying that. However, that doesn't rule out public consultation and with our new strategic plan and how we actually sort of level that and put some pushback on the state, because you have to remember this is a state levy that's been imposted on council. So I don't think in voting for this motion actually stops future actions. So it's noting the report, and this is the boundaries by which we can work. However, we can look at our strategic plan, our service deliveries and concessions that are available to people in our community that need some assistance. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Further debate? Just from my perspective, I think that's right. What Councillor De Back has put is that this should become part of our annual rating policy discussion. This council has always almost been very reluctant to muck around with the rating policy in terms of changing settings or providing caps or rebates, and we have more freedom in that section, perhaps not to do exactly this, but we can do things in that section of the discussion around how to set our rates. And so I think that's a good place to bring this back up and just maybe foreshadow the start, give us those options when the time comes. I sort of pose a question, two questions. Is it possible to give people an ex gratia discount off their rates just because we want it? Is that possible?
No, I don't believe that is. You can do that, and you are wanting to do that to select people, quantifying who those people actually are as well.
So this is 161 of the Act or whatever it is.
Yes, through in Section 166, there are some earlier provisions that talk about for the benefit of economic development or enticing businesses for sale into the area. There are some earlier items in that area, but not to the general public, or not pretty much not to residential.
So we can give a multinational a rate rebate to attract them here, but not a pensioner.
Potential.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's food for thought, isn't it? And perhaps just for information purposes, in terms of the controls, should there be a change to someone's rates notice, the internal controls we've got, just walk us through who and how that gets done, because there is administrative burden. And I know through audit committee, I know Councillor Barnett probably remembers too, that the person at the counter doesn't have the ability on their own to change a rating bill. So just help us understand that process.
Through there, essentially I think there's only one person, which is our rates administration officer, our rates and revenue officer. She's the only one who's actually able to update the master files. They're reported to me monthly, what she's actually done, and they're signed off and they're reviewed every year by our auditors. So there is quite a strict process around that. Staff do not have any delegation to amend the rates. There's no decisions around writing off rates or adjusting rates. There are levels for rebating fines and interest and those sort of costs, but they're in the vicinity of, I think it's $10 or $20 for the rates and revenue officer, 50 for himself, and beyond that goes to the CEO.
Okay, thank you. So it's just a bit of insight. So ex gratia we can't do, even if we did, it's a rating officer, not the person at the counter. So unless we can find an automated way of doing it using what the move that Councillor Barnett suggested was the pensioner database, we're at risk of costing the community more money in order to give people back money and have a double whammy in terms of our budget next year. And I don't think any of us really want that to be the outcome. We'd rather that the waste levy was set at a reasonable rate, which should surely be the most sensible outcome. So I think I'm happy to note the report. I'm disappointed about it. I understand where Councillor Harris is coming from, Councillor Nguyen. I'm not happy about it. But I think we've got good sentiment, but the wrong mechanism. And I also just want to state for the record that local government in general has been very reluctant to provide welfare to councillors in the form of discounted rates or concessions. We've generally said that's the role of the state government or the federal government, who determine who is a pensioner and give them that welfare, or who's worthy of a seniors card and grant them those discounts on their level of services, such as free public transport run by the state. Local government has said, if you give us a concession to pass on, we'll do that, but we won't provide our own welfare because you're already getting it from two levels of government. We've decided as a sector to provide services to pensioners, but not cash or discounts or financial welfare. So there is a really important distinction there that we need to kind of remind ourselves of. If we want to do something different, let's talk about it in the rate setting process and the rate policy process when it comes up in March, April next year. That's for me. Any further debate? Councillor Barnett, just a summary.
Yes, just saying, yes, we would have a look at this with our rating policy, what we can do later on. But I also put it to us that with our state service centre being kept open at Prospect, why not there be a suggestion to the state government that some may hold all the data? It would be very simple for them to rebate pension insurance. So,
I think you're introducing new information about finish. Have you finished, Councillor?
Yes.
That concludes debate. All those in favour? Against? Is carried. Not unanimous. Thank you. 16.5 was withdrawn by Councillor Backer. Thank you. You wish to move it to its current form? Councillor?
I do, and I'll have a question as well. Look, great report. I had a bit of a nosy on the outside, haven't been privileged enough to have the inside tour yet. I hear our tours have nearly sold out, which is good. Look, I did have a couple of questions though, which were answered via email that I've shared. So in regards to the appearance and then subsequent disappearance of the flagpoles. So one of the questions I was concerned about was the cost to ratepayers. So it comes back to the comment I made earlier in the evening around the plans for Vine Plaza, the outdoor area, the amenities, the trees, and we really haven't seen anything finalised. And I think the flagpoles going up and then subsequently coming down just sort of reiterates that there doesn't seem to be that plan in place. So maybe through the chair, just a question about the cost of relocating those flagpoles and perhaps, you know, where we're actually going to see those final plans.
That's a question.
Thanks for the question. Through the chair, in relation to the flagpoles, in round numbers, you're looking at about $500 per movement of those poles. So it was a $2,000 exercise to install. It's a little bit less than that to uninstall, and then when they get relocated through the Vine Plaza plan, there'll be another $2,000 overall. And just go further than that, as mentioned in our email exchange yesterday, there was an original forecast for the works on the flagpoles to buy and install of $20,000. There was an initial saving in purchase cost, but overall, after they've been relocated and moved, it's probably $2,000 over that original. But that's the life of the project with the components. There's a few unders and in the end it equals. As for Vine Plaza, that was discussed earlier tonight. Budgets exist for that project in this financial year. Simon's progressing the project, and those plans will come back through a workshop when it is delivered as part of this financial year's works.
Look, one other thing of note, I guess, when we're talking about signage, there's a very big sign going up front, not Corten steel, I believe, because that leaches into the pavers, but I have a copper frontage. Look, our opinions aside, has this been gone past the Click reference group in any way, or has it just gone to PEG for approval?
Through the chair, I assume you're talking about the community reference group?
Yeah, yeah.
Not in, that design has not gone through the reference group. The process and the discussion around having a sign has gone through the community reference group. So there was general support and recognised need for a sign. After that, it's gone through our Citywide Public Art group, had a discussion around it. The Mayor facilitated, and the PEG obviously have had some involvement as well. There's further work to go, and at the end of the day, the decision on its appropriateness will be a planning one made by the council.
Does that sign decision need to come to council? Is it one of those items that's reserved, or you've got enough to carry on with it, or just give us a status on the governance around?
Through the chair, we believe we have enough support for a sign along these lines, recognising that it's, because it requires its own planning approval, it's a complicated process to get council approval for a planning matter and a planning approval without conflicting the two processes. So we believe there's enough support for a design of this nature, a location of this nature, and a sign of approximately this height in order to progress down that path.
Thank you. Sorry, I just thought you might be interested in that information too. Councillor, you still have the floor if you need.
No, it's fine, thank you.
Okay. Do I have a second? Councillor Pearce.
I'll second it. It's a great report. Just one quick question. I note that the talking about the letting gains increasing by about 13,000 from the August report. But I don't believe yet we've had the leases signed for the spaces.
Yeah. Through you. To the direction. Okay. Director.
Through the chair, I think the letting gains referred to in that table relate to the procurement of items for the delivery of the project, not the leasing gains. And you're right, in your comment, those leases are not being signed. There's a preferred tenant for the commercial space that's still in final negotiations, and colliers are working separately on the retail space.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Pearce? No. Any further debate? Councillor Bannick.
Yes, if my understanding is correct on the painting signage about using a copper skin, I'm just wondering about, because quite often there's a theft of copper, so I'm just wondering, whatever we have, is it not likely to be stolen?
I'll probably start my to the director if that's okay. The feedback from Jerry McMahon, a renowned artist in Corten Rusty Steel at the Public Art Advisory Board, was not to use Corten because whilst robust it leaches and it would therefore leave a rust stain on the pavers forevermore unless we put in a drain specifically to catch the leachate and guide it to the water table, which can be done, just be aware of it. So the suggestion from the Public Art Board was, why don't you look at another another material that will still develop up patina, will still look more earthy, if you like, and go for copper, which will over time, fingerprints and this and that, it'll develop that kind of dull type as an alternative. So that's where the copper suggestion has come from. How it's installed to be theft-proof, I haven't installed that. I should take this occasion to note that the Burma Star has recently been stolen from the memorials at Memorial Gardens, so we shouldn't lose sight of that question. And you may have seen my Facebook post where I took some of my own copper piping down to Paramount Rails to get recycled, and got $50 for not very much copper piping, which I found amazing. So, very good question, Councillor Barnett. Director.
Thanks for the question through you there. Look, theft of the sign 6 metres high 700 mil wide, I don't think we considered as a viable option. However, recognising the demand for copper is there, it'll obviously be something that we do need to think through. It's going to be stuck in quite a significant footing, and if it's one piece of copper or several panels of copper, it'll be quite difficult, I imagine, to remove. That also being said, and for the benefit of this camera, the front of the Glick building in front of me is on several CCTV cameras. So you will be seen. You will be seen. We'll be on you.
And I think, sorry, just follow that. There's a suggestion that an Aluka box product be used instead, like a laminated aluminium that's coloured. We just had a quick discussion beforehand about whether that kind of meets the Public Art Advisory Board's recommendation to go for something which shows a bit of a bit more of a natural finish. So I've just said we'll just need to keep thinking through that. But your question is a good one in the context of that there. Okay, thank you. Any further debate? If not, that concludes the debate. Unless Councillor Backer wishes to sum up. That concludes the debate. Definitely. All those in favour? Against? This carried unanimously. Okay, you've got Council Diary. A very exciting date noted there, Monday the 14th of October at 9 a.m, 5 minutes before. Anthony will be open for business, a pretty exciting moment in the history of this city. Official opening, of course, later. Lots of soft opening activities going on, and of course sneak peeks, which I think the staff have done a great job of enticing people to come along and expand them because there's been so much interest. So that's just very, very, very exciting. Sunday the 20th of October, the George Whittle Reserve Open Day. Not quite as exciting, but I imagine it's going to be pretty fun-filled, jam-packed. Seeing Director Bradley on his skateboard briefly before he's off his skateboard. I won't be on my skateboard. So please make sure you've got that in your diary. Please come down. It's going to be a huge, huge day. The skate park has enormous historic significance in the city. It was a hard-fought park to get. It was driven by local young people who drove it and helped design it and then helped look after it. And its most recent renovation prior to demolition was also driven by a bunch of young people who approached council saying this could and should be better, here's our ideas. And next thing I knew, the council staff were down there with the kids drawing, telling the concreters how to go about the job, which I thought it's just a really beautiful story. The latest iteration, of course, has involved some of the best skate park designers in the country on the Shoot. And it's been really well used already by the skating fraternity. So there's some good stories in there, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, the artwork, the rail carriage that's sort of buried in the ground, made of pipe and logs and stuff, is by Seb, who's one of the original guys who started the original skate park via a petition and that original action. So it's a really nice tie into his artwork now, part of the new park as a fully fledged adult, not just graffiti artist, now a sculptor in his own right, who rents a huge warehouse where he makes his art on commission for real clients. So there's lots about it that's really, really interesting. I'd love to see you there on the 20th of October. General business of an urgent nature. Is there any general business of an urgent nature? If not, we'll move on. Confidential items, we only have one, item 19.1. Somebody you should move item 1 that we go into Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Ritt. I'll recognise any debate on item 1. There being no debate, concludes debate. All those in favour? Against is carried unanimously.
Yeah,